Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint some flowers using some basic palette knife techniques. It's going to be really simple and kind of abstracted flowers. It'll be a great beginner project that you can do with your kids or friends at home. Got my husband, Mark, with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's managed chat during our live show tonight, so if you have questions while I'm painting, you can ask those, and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. All right, so I'm just using a basic cotton panel here. This is an archival canvas board from Fredrix, a 9 by 12 inch. You can use whatever size you'd like. I really like the hardboard canvases for palette knife work, though. So if you've got one of those, I would grab it instead of the canvases that are, have the wood around the sides, because the middle tends to sag if you're using a palette knife on it, unless it's a really, really good quality that's tight. So these canvas boards make it a lot easier to work with palette knives. Speaking of, I've got a few palette knives here that I'm going to be using tonight. This is the traditional set, and this is the detail set. And those links are down in the description for the ones that I'm using, but they're just basically different sizes. I'm probably not going to use all of these. In fact, I'll probably only use one or two of this one, and then maybe a few of these ones. These little smaller ones will make it easier for the flowers, though, for sure. So I would say get at least one of these smaller ones and one of the larger ones, and you'll probably be in good shape for this painting. You can also use a credit card for some of the longer lines and things if you don't have a palette knife. So just kind of improvise. I've even kind of practiced a little bit with plastic spoons and things, for these kind of shaped ones. So, or you could use your fingers. So if you don't have the fancy palette knives, don't feel like you can't do this project. You can kind of adapt it and use other tools, whatever you've got on hand. All right, and then you're going to want a large brush for doing the background, just kind of our basic first step. Let's go over our colors. This one's a Princeton Aspen 2-inch, by the way. So, and then I'm going to probably splatter, so I've got the 10-aught bristle fan for that. You can also use a toothbrush for splattering. All right, got carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow medium, and cadmium red medium. Not sure if I'm going to need that color, but I put it out just in case. So in case you didn't have magenta, you could probably use that. This is Quinacridone Magenta, Phthalo blue, green shade, Cobalt teal, and this is a permanent green deep, but it's very similar to Phthalo green yellow shade, which I usually use. I grabbed my Amsterdam paints for this because they're a little bit softer and they work a little bit better with the palette knife, and I have a bunch of them, so I just want to use them, and I wanted to save my really expensive golden paints for other things. So some of them are golden heavy body acrylics. You can kind of tell the ones that are a little bit thicker are the heavy body acrylics, and then the other ones that are a little softer are going to be the Amsterdam Expert. This is the Unbleached Titanium or Titan Buff in Amsterdam, and then this is Titanium White. And then I put out some of the Ash Pink Matisse color that we used a couple of weeks ago in the video with the girl with the flowers in her hair, the blonde lady. So I showed how to mix a color similar to that. It says on their website that it is burnt sienna and white, which my burnt sienna does not make pink. My burnt sienna has got a little bit more red or orange in it. So it won't make that color if I add white to it. So that's why we mix it the way I kind of showed how to mix that color. We'll kind of go over it tonight too. We'll try it with some burnt sienna, and we'll probably can add some burnt sienna to some magenta, the burnt sienna, to get something similar to that too. So, all right, before I start, I'm going to show you the one that we did a couple of years ago. This was a palette knife one. I've got the link down in the description for this one if you want to try that one out too. So it's real simple. Mark even did one of these, I think.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I don't remember which one.
It's probably not that, because that was the example one. It was, I don't know where it's right. Probably on a canvas somewhere.
It's on the real one.
It's in storage.
It's a collector's edition. It's under security.
We have it stored really carefully in a plastic tin bin.
Yeah, I think the Louvre was wanting it to be on exhibition.
You can't even. You're lying. You're
I can't
getting
even
tripped
lie.
up with your
Correct.
lies.
Exactly. So. Sorry, it's Louvre.
Okay. Okay. So I thought for the background on this one, we used I think unbleached titanium for the background on that teal one. So if you wanted to match, you could use that. I'm going to use a little bit of it with my white, but mostly white. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of gray. So I'm going to use a little bit of phthalo blue and burnt umber. See if I can get kind of a gray. I didn't put out my ultramarine blue, which I know makes a really good gray with blue, but that'll be close. It's kind of a brown. Let me see. Add a little bit more of that.
Hey, real quick, somebody asked, where'd it go? Is ash pink similar to portrait pink? I don't know what that is.
Portrait pink is a Liquitex color.
Ooh, okay.
Let me see. That's a good question. So there's portrait pink. Titan Mars Pale is similar to it. Skin tone is probably closer. Ash pink is down here. It's a lot more pink. So there's the portrait pink there. It's got more orangey tones. The skin tone light from Matisse or the Titan Pale in golden are probably the more similar colors. That the ash pink is definitely more pink. Portrait pink is probably what would happen if I did my let me see. It's kind of green. I don't know. I didn't want green. I have the wrong blue out to make my gray. I'm going to put out some ultramarine if I can find it. What?
Okay, I'm making an audible here.
Okay.
Since donations go towards the CDC Foundation tonight,
Yes.
just want to give a shout out to the anonymous donator who gave $20.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So just disco lights, no cowbell. For now.
For now. Okay, so this is kind of a minty green. I was kind of going for gray, but I don't have the right blue out, so we'll just go with this. It'll be fine. It's a gray green. I could have just used white and black, I guess. And really, if I wanted to go more gray, opposite color wheel from green is red, so I could use like a little bit of red, probably, maybe a little bit of the magenta, and that would, ooh, look at that purple. We're just making all kinds of colors here.
Look at it.
Ooh. What's that?
Where you been?
Spencer, that was perfect. Spencer laughing from the other room. He's playing video games. I don't think he was laughing at us.
No.
Okay, so I'm just making a bunch of brown here. I'm just gonna keep on going. Really doesn't matter all that much. Your background is going to be, well, I guess it does kind of, but all right, so there's our kind of gray. I did a little bit of like more of a rosy tone at the bottom there. I'm going to get some white and get some water here. My titanium white over here is a little bit thick. And I'm just going to, come on. Now you don't want when you've got wet paint on your canvas, you don't want to go over it with thinner paint. So you don't want to go in with a paint that is a lot thinner, wetter, because what it'll do is wash off your paint that's underneath. So sometimes when I hear people like, I'm trying to get my paint to stick to my canvas, but when I go and try to put the next layer on, or blend it, it's not sticking to my canvas, and that is probably the case. It's probably that it was not dry, or it was a thinner paint than what you put down. So put thicker paint on top of thinner paint, but if you've got a thick paint underneath and you try to thin it, or, you know, put a thin layer of, I think I'm making sense here, hopefully.
Yeah, we just want to say there's no paint shaming.
If you go thin,
if it's a thinner or
thick,
thicker,
thin, we
all
accept all
accepted.
types.
Exactly.
Shut up. So crazy. So crazy.
What's that
Okay,
funky
so
music?
all I'm doing is, we were listening to Funky Town just before the show, so we were in a weird mood, sorry. Don't you take me to Funky Town.
And I sound just like her.
We do.
I don't even know who it was.
All right, so I am barely skimming. You can tell I'm getting the kind of paint thick on the canvas here, or on my brush, like right on the tip there, and I'm starting at the bottom here, and I'm just dragging it up and letting it kind of skim over the top of this canvas. There we go. I just want some like streaky things happening, and the more you blend it, the less, texture it'll have. Like, if you want to blend it in, you can just kind of go over it a little bit, but I'm trying to get it to kind of do this kind of skipping thing that it's doing there. A couple places. That'll just give us kind of some, more interesting things happening in the background. All right, I'm going to give this to Mark. He's going to take it and dry it for us really quick. Might take a minute because it's a little bit thicker paint. And I'm going to clean out my brush and my water. And I did want to just go over a couple of different things that we can do with the palette knife. So once we get to work, and we'll be doing this, and I'll go over it again when I do my mixing, or my start working on the canvas. But let's mix up some of the pink that we're going to be using. So I'm going to use kind of equal parts burnt sienna and Quinacridone Magenta. That'll be our darker rose or flower color, whatever, like in the darkest part of it. And maybe 2 parts magenta to 1 part burnt sienna. Just wanted a little bit toned it down so that it's not like super bright pink, because this is more natural color than that you'd see. And then we're just going to bring a little bit over here. A little bit, that's a lot. I'm going to wipe my knife off and grab some white and see if we can see if this color is close to our ash pink. So it's a little bit more reddish. It's a little bit. So that's what I did. When I did the other mixture, I used gray, because this color it's very gray. Although when you thin it out, when you do it thin, it's this color is a little bit closer to it. Maybe if you added a little bit of burnt umber. Let's add a little bit of burnt. I need to get that the white out of there though, because I don't want to tint my dark color with. So just a little bit, maybe a 1/4 part burnt umber, 1 part burnt sienna, 2 parts Quinacridone Magenta, something like that. All right, so there, let's try this color now. That's got a little bit of the burnt umber in it, which will gray it out even more. Maybe make it less red. It's closer, maybe, to this color, but I still think just like a little bit of plain old gray with magenta is probably gonna do you. And then here, I'll show you what it looks like when you just mix burnt sienna with white. Because the burnt sienna, maybe in watercolors, burnt sienna is more rosy toned, but in the acrylic colors that I've got there, it's much more reddish, or it's much more, like a red or an orange. I mean, that's the color I'm trying to say, not red, orange. So you can see how much it's super orange. It's not going to make a pink at all. So, so thank you to the person who said that in my, they were, trying to let me know what, it does say to mix white and burnt sienna. On the Matisse website, it says, that this ash pink is made from burnt sienna and white, which it does, but not the burnt sienna we're using. It's a different burnt sienna entirely. So you can see that here. Okay. I don't know why I'm going through all that, but that's so this will be our kind of basic color. So it's magenta, a little bit of burnt umber, burnt sienna. It'll give us a really nice, pretty dark reddish with a lot of pink in it to work with, and I think that'll be a really nice color for us. And I am already needing a new towel over here. This palette knife, you're going to go through a lot of towels. I use these. These are shop towels. You get them in the automotive department at the grocery store, or automotive shops, I'm sure, sell them too. But they're really thick, and they're great for painting. So, because I make a mess. You can also use a towel. I do use towels too, but I tend to go through the paper towels too. All right.
So that's a good point.
Oh, I was going to show you some palette knife techniques, but we ended up just coloring the whole time. So here we go. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, I like that. That'll be really nice against that pink color. So, all right. So I'm going to use some chalk, and I'm just going to kind of basically draw out where I want my main flowers to be. So we're going to have one way over here, and the shapes are kind of like this triangle almost shape. So we got one here, one up here, one here that kind of fills in the gaps between them that are more circular. And then all of these stems are going to come out this way. Got one big one right here. This is kind of our main one on the bottom. I'm going to make it even a little bit bigger than it is in the picture. And then one little one over here. And that one's coming that way. That one's here. Leaf. A little. So think about a curved line here, and then the petals are going to kind of be in here, kind of stacked like that. So this one is kind of opening towards us, so we're seeing like one kind of a long piece here, and then a lot of different little smaller ones here, and then these outer ones are going to kind of be more petal shaped. And then these ones are going to be much more petal, 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 and we're only seeing a little bit of the inside petals here. And same thing with this one. I'm going to push this one out here a little bit more on its own, so we're not so overlapped there. And if you need to erase something, the nice thing about chalk is you just use a little bit of a damp towel and just kind of pat it off, and it'll absorb that chalk and wipe it right off the canvas for you. So I know I can't remember the name of these flowers. I've gotten them before. There's a florist at the farmers market in Bentonville where we've gotten these before. If somebody knows the name of them, let me know in the chat, because I can't remember I keep looking it up and then I keep forgetting.
I think they're a pink papa rose.
What?
Pink papa rose.
Pink papa rose?
Yeah. I mean, they look like a poppy or a rose kind of. So
poppy rose?
That's what I went with. That may or may not be a fact.
I wouldn't listen to him.
You don't normally, so.
He was ordering me roses that were lilies and daisies, so.
Close enough.
It was close.
Bees like them.
All right, so the little buds are just like these little teardrop shapes here and here and one here. And they've got their own little stems. And I'm not going to get too fussy with this, but it will help us to have kind of a general idea of replacement. And that way we can shift things over if we ran out of room over here, which we kind of did. So I might, instead of adding this one here, way out here, because it's going to be too close over the edge, I'm just going to add another one, maybe right in here somewhere. Okay. Okay, that'll be good. So to do our stems, what we're gonna want is a long. Let's get a long blade. This one's gonna be the best one, I think. It's gonna have a long blade, and it'll give us a nice line with the edge here. So what we'll do is, I don't know why I grabbed water there. It's just a habit. Could just dip my brush into the water every time. So why don't you
dip your palette
knife in there? Why not? Don't do that.
That's not
you don't have to do that.
You don't need to do that step.
You don't need to do that at all. That was awesome.
It's like somebody at work one day asked me if I had a spoon, which I had. And I wasn't sure if it's clean or not, so I stuck it under my armpit and wiped it off. And they looked at
You win. You win. That's better than mine.
And they were just looking at me. And I'm like, what? And they're like, did you just put that in your armpit?
But I was cleaning for you. I was cleaning it for you.
Yeah, but it's clean, so.
It's clean now. It's clean now. It's awesome. Oh my gosh, honey. That's really funny.
Yeah, so that happened.
Burnt umber. Pretty much equal parts. Burnt umber and this phthalo green. That's great, honey. I don't think you told me that story. That's really funny.
Yeah, that was, probably 10 plus years ago.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know why that came to mind when you did that in your palette. But, yeah.
It's just unconscious things you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, our kids are fine with it, so I don't.
Oh my gosh. This one's got the burnt sienna. I just used that burnt sienna white mixture that I had used over here. So I put that with the red green here to make kind of a lighter green, and then I use the brown here to make this darker green. So we're going to use the darker green for our stems. And what I'm going to do is kind of flatten out this paint on my palette, and then I'm going to kind of smoosh it off, and I'm going to scrape through that flattened paint to get it on one side. Just a little bead of paint. I don't know if you can see that. There's just a little bit thicker paint right along that edge. You can kind of barely see it right there. So let me do it again. So I'm going to flatten it out here, and I'm going to smush it through just a little bit, and I'm just scraping it onto that edge of my palette knife there. And then what I'm going to do is just lay it down just at a very kind of gentle angle. It won't do it if you go straight. So you got to have a little bit of an angle, and I'm just going to lay it down and do my lines. I'm not going to worry about where my flowers are. There we go. And you're going to get this really pretty broken line, and that's fine. That's what we want. So that's the beauty of the palette knife. You kind of really don't know what it's going to do exactly. But you just kind of have to embrace that, so don't try to go over it again. I mean, you can kind of go over it a little bit, like if you've got a really bad area where, you don't like it, but, like you can get those kind of things happening where, it scraped off into an area where I didn't intend for it to go. So just a little bit of an angle, so that paint will come off of my palette, or my knife there. Okay, so all of this is underneath my flower, so I don't have to worry about that mistake that I just made there. And I'm going to do it over here too. This time I'm not going to go over that flower totally. I'm just going to kind of, there we go. I'll join those together. Pretty. This is really easy. Try not to stress about it. Just kind of go with the flow.
I'm not stressed at all.
You're not stressed? Good. You can use, because you're not painting.
Well, that too. Because I know we have plenty of sugar.
I'm going to be hearing about the sugar for a while.
Yeah, so I can't let Angela panic buy shop food.
I read an article about food supply shortages, and so I thought, what is the one thing that we can't live without if there was a shortage? And I was like, probably sugar, because that would be really sad for the hummingbirds as well as for us.
Right.
And Mark was like, we need more sugar for the hummingbirds. And I'm like, okay, I'll buy some. And I'm like, I'm going to get a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get a good amount just because, you
got
never know.
You ordered 2 bags.
I ordered 2.
And how big were the bags?
Don't. Oh my God. Thankfully, Walmart only gave me 1 bag. They knew. They were like, she does not need 2 bags of 25-pound bags of sugar.
There's no way they need 50 pounds of sugar.
You never know.
But,
oh my gosh. So I'm not allowed to buy our, oh my gosh.
But they didn't know that we had 4 bottles of mustard to cover. So
that was another thing I was worried about.
So yeah, we're set.
So if you can make something from mustard and sugar, 25 pounds of sugar, we'll be okay. Oh my gosh.
Well, okay, what's even funnier,
right
she was
now.
like, they didn't, give us our sugar.
Right, yeah, they sent me a thing and I was like,
well, I know they have sugar because when I was in there a few days earlier, it was pretty well stocked. So before I did the pickup, I went in and bought another 10-pound bag of sugar. So we actually have 35 pounds.
we have a lot of sugar.
Sorry if you
So
came
if you
to
need
watch us
sugar,
paint.
if you live in our neighborhood and you need sugar, you know who to call.
All right, back to the painting.
Back to the painting. Oh my gosh. I'm not. I need to stop reading articles while I'm shopping at 2 a.m. That's what happened. I'm not kidding. That's exactly what happened. I was like reading articles before I go to bed. Like, oh my gosh. We need bacon too because the pork things are closing down. So we got bacon. We've got like 3 things of bacon. So we got bacon, sugar, and mustard.
So we'll look up recipes for that.
I'm sure we can make something. Yeah. Probably baked beans.
All right, so tell them what you're doing with the knife there.
I am scraping. I'm just continuing to scrape in my stems here that I drew in earlier, and I'm just kind of trying to make sure that every one of these has, something kind of leading to it so that it makes sense. Now, we're going to put some that are not leading to anything too, but these ones are going to be our main ones that we want to. There we go.
I think once you're done doing this, honestly, if you use a lighter color to show them how you're loading the palette knife with the paint would help you, because the green it just isn't showing up well against that dark.
Okay. Well, I'll use this. So you brush it flat and then you scrape through. Well, I've got way too much on here. Let me get that off. Offload it. Smooth it out and then scrape through just a little bit. And it gets you this little bead of paint right along there. And then that's what allows you to do this. Now I'm going to do some leaves here. So I can't. I pulled it towards myself there. There we go. So the leaves, I'm going to get a little bit more paint. So I'm doing a little bit thicker. And I'm going to set my brush down kind of at an angle and then turn it so that it's smushed flat. And then pull it down towards my stem. And that is offloading all that thick. It's really thick. So, and I've got the darker color in here too. So I'm kind of trying to get both colors on there. So, but I'm making sure that it's kind of on one side so that I can control it at least a little bit. So let's find another area where I can fit another leaf in. So I'm going to start it the way I did my stem. I'm going to just do a line. And then where I want it to be thicker, I'm going to just kind of flatten it out. And then pull through. to my stem. There you go. See that? Some of these I'm going to maybe make even bigger. So maybe I'll go back into this one and smush it out even more. Get some white or unbleached titanium.
That was you.
That was me. Mm-hmm.
Because mine's on silent.
Yeah, it's silent my phone.
Oh, you change your pin so that you can do.
Just hit the mute there. You don't have to go into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's just do, woo. There we go. Little leaves. Here's just a few little ones, little baby ones. There we go. These are really fun. And then we also going to want to do some, get some of that darker color. Right there. Do as many as you want. You don't have to do as many as I'm doing here, but yeah, I like those. Okay, then I'm just going to use this knife and just kind of run some random grasses and things through here. Come on. Just kind of, now you don't have to do this part. If you prefer kind of clean looking, you don't have to do the kind of grasses and things. So that's up to you. It'll kind of, you know, make it a little bit, you know, a little more kind of mussy. That's completely up to you.
So I want to say hi to everybody who's joined us.
Yeah.
And to survive the silliness of the first part of the show. Sometimes we're like that.
Yeah, we do. And I get comments about it all the time. And I'm like, you know what? There's a simple solution for if you have a problem with our silliness.
What's that?
So you can either, like, one, not watch, or two, mute it. So I would suggest, like, the mute button is, like, you're probably going to be your friend. If you're like, I just want to see the painting, I don't want to hear you talk. Then, because I get comments about that all the time. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But we do this live, and it's to keep our sanity.
And it's just us.
And our marriage intact.
It's how we are.
We talk to each other. It's amazing. Alrighty. So I got all kinds of mess stuff here. I'm, you know, not 100% happy with that. That kind of turned out to be a little bit thicker than I had intended for it to be, but there's not a whole lot I could do about it now.
Kind of like my
I'm just going to
midsection.
go with it. What?
Kind of like my midsection. Turned out a little bit thicker than I wanted.
Not a whole lot you can do about it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to do sit-ups.
So, moving on. Yellow oxide, unbleached titanium, and some of my green here. And I'm going to get some of the yellow over here and use the white with the yellow too. I still had that green on there, so it's going to tint it too. And really, you want to start with white when you're trying to mix a light color. It's just easier to mix straight from white and then add your darker color than to try to lighten up a dark color, because you can end up using half a bottle of white doing that. Okay, so I think the yellow, this one is my preferred one. This one we probably use a little bit of it, but I like the cadmium yellow with a little bit of the unbleached titanium and titanium white here. I'm going to use that on the buds, and I found a knife that's almost the same exact size as them, so I'm just going to use that and just plop it down and kind of smush it. There you go. smush it down and then kind of run through it a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to use a little bit of the darker color down here. Just going to tap in a little bit of that darker, and then let's use a little bit of this green. Do a little bit of green, a little bit of leaves, kind of right around it. You know how the buds have the kind of leaves going around the sides of them. So just gonna try to indicate that a little bit. Okay, so those are our little buds. And then at the bottom of all of our flowers, we're gonna have these kind of light colored sections too. So I'm just gonna use this knife with the tip and put some of this with the yellow oxide, getting a little bit of the green and just kind of putting a little, not all of them are going to show a little bit of that, but some of these that are bigger, some of the ones that you're seeing the, you know, the bottom of the flower, you're going to see a little bit of this kind of where the flower attaches. Little nub right there. Okay, so there we go. And then if our leaves ever dry, we could add a little bit of this color to our leaves too, but I don't know, they're pretty thick, so I don't want to mess with them too much. I can try to.
Now, did you say at the beginning, which I wasn't listening,
For a little bit.
if people don't have palette knives, that they could use things like credit cards and stuff like that instead?
Yeah, let me show you kind of how that looks.
Just so they don't go running out and spending a bunch of money on palette knives and use it once and then say, I don't like
exactly.
this. So,
yeah, and palette knife's not for everybody. Not everybody really likes the palette knife because it's very like, if you like a really controlled result, you're not going to like a palette knife because it is very much like you kind of have to take what you get, like with that, you know, thing there. You just kind of have to go with the flow. So you have to be a little bit adaptable. And if that is not your personality, then you may just kind of know going in that it's going to maybe be a little bit more frustrating than you want. So if you're using a credit card, you do it the same way. So you're just going to use that flat edge, just like the edge of the palette knife. And we're going to use it to do the lines. You can do it just like we did before, you know. And then you could cut smaller sections of it, but you can still do kind of some leaves if you kind of press it down a little bit flatter. Just using that corner and kind of turning it down a little bit to do the leaves. So, and it's a little bit harder. You can probably use the edge. If you kind of tap through that wet paint, you could use that edge and do your lines that way. Might be a little bit easier. And then when we get to the actual flowers, I would just use my finger. And I would just use my finger and do the petals that way. And I think you'll have a good time of it. And then your kids would absolutely probably love it. If if you're doing it with kids or something, you can really get some fun effects that way. And you pretty much do all the same techniques with your fingers we're going to do with the palette knife. So, all right.
good tip.
But just make sure that you're using I wouldn't use a cadmium because cadmiums can be toxic-ish. They're not as healthy.
They're not a man-made substance.
Quinacridones too. I'm not sure about quinacridones. So you might just use a craft acrylic if you're going to use your fingers, and that way those are definitely going to be. They're not going to use it. Be a little safer, maybe. Okay. So before I put in all my flowers, I think I'm going to splatter some green here. I'm going to get that dark green, and you're going to want to add a lot of water. It's not going to splatter unless it's thin. think about, you know, water splashing. So that's pretty much what we're doing here. We're just splashing off our brush. So you kind of have to have it thinned out like it'll splash. So it'll splash off our brush. So there we go. We're splashing it off our brush. Here we go. Okay. And clean that out real good. I'm going to make sure this stays wet because I have not gotten to clean this. And somebody was at a beginner, and she had gotten some paints and or some brushes, and she was, you know, just starting to paint, and she wasn't sure what you were supposed to do to wash your brush, and she was just using water, and that you need soap. So use soap when you're cleaning out your acrylic brushes, because otherwise you won't get all that paint out. And you want to make sure that you're getting the paint out of this part. So really smush down in your palm. I use my palm, so I'm not, you know, bruising the bristles, but really press down pretty hard and have, you know, a good amount of soap there, and suds it up and get that soap, work that soap down in here, then rinse it out real good, and then test it on a white paper towel. And just, if you do like that on a paper towel and you can see any color, then you know you need to keep cleaning, and just keep on cleaning it over and over again. Sometimes it takes me 3 times before I start to see it, you know, come fully clean. So don't.
Yes, and make sure the paint doesn't dry first.
Yes.
You have to do it while it's still liquidy.
Yes, you do. Okay, so I'm going to use my paper towel here and just dab off these areas where I'm going to put my petals. So I know. And it actually leaves kind of a cool effect. So if you want to do that on some of these that are on the outside too, it kind of leaves this like little halo effect in the paint when you dab through the drying paint. So I might do some over here. Just do a little bit there and a little bit over here. It kind of softens the look too. You can use water on there or spit like I just did. And smooth it out that way too. Okay. So let's get one of these. Let me see. I think I'm going to use this one because it's got a little bit of a rounded tip. It's kind of almost petal shape. And I'll probably still use this one too. So let's start building our petals. I'm just going to work from the top down here and grab that color. We mix it still too. It's kind of red. It's really red. So I think if I want it more magenta, I need it more to get it more pink. I'm going to have to add more magenta. I'm going to scrape through this. Get this clean so I can work in this area here. It's a glass palette, so I think I mentioned this already, but I did include links down in the description for the palette knives and actually this palette that I'm using tonight. I figured you might have questions about it, so there's links to where you can buy it on blick.com. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit more pink here. Get some more white. Get some unbleached titanium. The unbleached titanium has yellowish tones to it, so it's going to create a really pretty pink too. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let's use that. I'm still going to use this darker one, but I'm not going to use it. Might mix it with the magenta to get like a medium tone pink. I want it more pink root troop magenta then. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And then get some white here, and I'm just going to use what's in my brush here. Or my palette knife here to mix through. So I didn't add any new color to this. It's just white with the colors that I was using. And then I've got the ash pink here still that we can use. So I've got like 1, 2, 3, for values, like, you know, a kind of a 2 darker and 2 lighter valued colors. And that'll kind of give us, this one will be our lightest one over here. In fact, I'm going to add more white over here. Really light. I want it almost white. Okay. So for the most of the petals, we're going to be using this medium color. I'm not going to be going super dark on all of them, so I'm going to kind of start there. I'm going to get this lighter color. Along this bottom edge, back edge here, I'm going to smush it like that. So I'm just kind of thinking about where those petals are, and I'm going to load my palette knife pretty thick, but I'm kind of scraping through to get it on there. And then I'm going to press it down, set it down, and just kind of pull it to the side. And it'll give, when I lift, it'll kind of smush out the rest of that paint in a little raised area there. So I want those little raised areas. And then I'm going to get a little bit of the darker color. So I did a little bit of the lighter color, and then I'm going to get a little bit of the darker color. I'm going to come over that and do a couple of passes with that. That'll give me kind of a couple petals there. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do. I'm not going to overdo it. You don't want it overwhelm it, you know, with too much paint, especially while it's wet like this. It's not going to stick if you go too much. I'm going to get a little bit of the lighter color, but yeah, see, it's just not going to want to stick while it's wet. There we go. Okay, so there's one little petal. Let's do one here. So I've got a little bit of the lighter color here. I'm just going to do a couple little passes for the top of that. And then maybe get a little bit of the medium dark here, kind of both. Do a few little sections in the middle there with that. And then get a little bit of the medium color. Come out and press it for that petal. And then get maybe a lighter color. I'm just going to try to create contrast. That's all I'm doing. So it really doesn't matter as much the exact colors that I'm using, as long as I can see the one in front of the other. So I can't see this one, so I'm just going to get a little bit more of my darker color and maybe add that. There we go. Okay. Going a little bit more, a little bit cleaner with this one than I did with the last one. The last one I kind of just smushed it all on and called it good. So it's up to you how kind of careful you want to be. I'm trying to kind of make this one maybe a little bit more realistic. That other one was very like abstracted poppies. So this one I'm kind of trying to go a little bit more realistic, just slightly. Getting a little bit of the lighter color. I'm trying to smush it so that I can get that. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of that. There we go. A little bit more of that thicker paint right there. Then I'm going to get this light color here. I'm going to do my next layer over this with the lighter color, so you can see it against there. Okay, let's get the darker. Let's do one of these this way with the darker. Coming in. Get some of the lighter color. And you can always scrape back the color. So I'm like, right here, I'm going to add more color. So I know I'm going to put another petal here. So I'm just going to scrape that off a little bit, so I don't have too much paint right there where I'm going to try to put my next color. And so this is going to be the center of my flower. So I'm going to get some of this dark color. I'm going to put some of this dark color in here. And then I'm going to get my black. And there is some black down in here. And I'm just going to dab a little bit of that black in there. Okay. Wipe your brush out real good, or your palette knife real good there. And then let's get some of the darker kind of middle color, a little bit in between these two here. Just gonna mix them together. I need a little bit more of the magenta. I'm just gonna use, yeah, kind of closer to the actual magenta color here. Just a slight bit of the other colors in there. I'm gonna try to go right in here. So I'm gonna press this down right here. There we go. A little petal there. And then there's all these little petals that are kind of covering over. So I'm going to get a pretty good amount on here, scrape it so that I have it on this side. And whatever side you're working is the side that you want to have the most paint. So if I'm laying this side down, I want the most paint on this side. If I'm laying this side down for these sides, I'm going to have the more paint on this side. Okay, so this time I'm doing a petal over here, so I loaded it up a little bit thicker on this side so that I can angle it. Get that paint to come off right there. It's not really showing up very good, so I'm going to get a little bit of the darker color. There we go. And then petal right there, smushing through, and it picked up a little bit of that black, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is just scrape that off right there. So I have a clean spot to work. And then I'm going to use the kind of middle dark color. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to look where I've got a little space. So I've got a little space between these two petals right here and here. And I'm going to try to get my knife right in there. And then just smush that paint right there. There we go. So now we've got like a little shadow under here. Then we can get some of our lighter color. Again, contrast. So we're just kind of looking at where we maybe need a, a different color, different color story. I'm going to get a little bit of the lighter color and just smush it down like that. So now we got this beautiful open flower, and that's all we did. It was kind of create this dark center here to allow that to look like that. Okay, so let's do some of these tulip-shaped ones up here. So I'm going to do some more like that, some more like that. Get some of this lighter color here, over here, and right there. And then for the ones in the front, I'm just going to kind of scrape through this. So there's a little color there, but it's not like fully formed. And actually kind of like that as it is, but we could probably leave it that way. And get a little bit of the darker color though. And do a few little petals through there with the darker color, just to show a little contrast. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of that darker right there. So there we go. Isn't this fun? I hope this is not stressful.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want it to be stressful, so try to...
I'm having a blast over here.
It's just kind of a light touches. You're having a blast? You're loving it?
Yeah.
You're like, wow.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
We were just watching before this. The little girl was crying her heart out. She's a British girl. I can't remember the name. She's crying because her mom's telling her that all of the restaurants are closed. She's like, McDonald's? She's like, crying. She's like, yeah, you're literally going to have to eat your mommy's food. Your mommy's cooking. She's like, no. It's so great. And my friend Stacy was like, that's my kids right now. She was telling me the other day, she's like, my kids are like, Mom. She doesn't like to cook. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, it's looking good. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Let's get some of this. Let's get some of the medium color here. Let's just keep on going. How are we doing on time? Oh yeah, got about an hour here. Perfect. So we'll just keep on smushing. So we're doing like maybe 4 petals there in the back. Maybe this one's one big one, who knows. And then another layer with a different color. And maybe some of the darker color around the sides here. There. Think about how your petals are shaped. These ones in front are going to be kind of triangles. The ones in the middle, we're only seeing like little bits of them, so they're only going to be little bitty. And if you get a super thick area, you can kind of come back over and smooth it out a little bit. And then maybe use the tip of the brush to kind of direct the paint there. And then I kind of got off right there. So what I'm going to do is try to connect that better to the stem. I'm going to get some of this green here. And I'm going to do maybe a little bit of the darker green. I'm going to do a little thing there that connects it. See that? And this one too needs one. Okay. Let's do this little one up here. I'm going to spray this with the water so it doesn't start to get too sticky, because if it's real sticky it doesn't work very well. You don't need it soupy, but it'll go on a little bit better. That's why I use this more fluid acrylics too, because they spread better, more like butter. Okay. Fun. Okay, get some of the darker. Let's do a darker petal. We're gonna whisper. I don't know why I do that, but I like to whisper when I paint. It's a problem. I get comments about it. Promise I don't do it on purpose. I'm like, what will make it harder for people to hear me? I know. I'm going to whisper.
How should I make people not like me while I'm trying to grow my channel?
How to make this harder for people to follow? Let's just start whispering.
How to grow your channel. Make sure people can't understand you.
Check.
Have some random guy just talk for no reason.
We're hitting it all. We got it all.
Paid off camera quite often. We are checking all the boxes, babe.
We got it going on. I would high five you right now if I could reach you. It's too far away. Okay, so I put the darker color down, but I realized that was premature. I need to put the lighter colors in first, because it's going to cover over. So I'm going to scrape that part off. Do over. So here we go. Again, doesn't really matter what colors you're choosing. I mean, you kind of are going to know that that your areas that are getting into light, those petals are going to be a little bit lighter. But these petals on our reference photo, the edges are a little bit darker than the inside because they're tinted that way. So you really, I don't think you can go wrong here. Just do whatever. Just as long as you can kind of see the difference between the petals, you're good. We're not trying for ultra realism here. We're just going for kind of the basic overall shape. I think these are checking the boxes. So don't get too fussy with it. Get fussy with it. That's a missed opportunity for a song right there. Will Smith, you're welcome. Getting fussy with it. All right, so here I'm looking my shape. So now once you kind of get to this point, and then you want to look at the overall shape and kind of compare it to what you're seeing on your reference photo. So I'm seeing there's a little bit more of a roundedness here. There is a petal that's kind of coming out, but there is a little bit more like of a roundedness. So I need to just add a petal out here that's going to round out that shape just a little bit better for me. Okay, so just kind of take a step back every now and then, look at your picture and see where you might be missing, an opportunity to put a little petal or some extra color. Okay, extra color. I'm not sure what I was trying to say there, but you get the idea. Okay, so then I'm going to get the black again. This is black. It's mixing with my pink a little bit. That's okay. putting it fairly thick. This is the big area of this flower, so this flower is really, this one and this one are the only two that are showing that black. So we want to get that in there, and then there is one petal right here that's kind of right next to it. I'm going to get the white and try to get it in there with kind of a lighter pink color. Again, scrape it. Let me see, I think I'm going to try to do it in this direction. So I'm going to scrape the color onto that side. And I'm going to set my knife down right up next to that black and just smush back with it. There we go. And pull it around a little bit. There we go. And do the same thing down here. Smush a little highlight on that. Bring it around a little bit more. All right.
So if everybody,
Okay, that's pretty close.
if anybody's new to the channel, hope you subscribe.
Yes.
Give this a thumbs up if you're liking it. If you don't, give it a thumbs up anyway. Just pretend like it. You know. And down below the video, we hit to show more of the little triangle arrow thing, and it'll show you all the list of all the supplies that she's using, links to the brush guides, Amazon, social media, all that good stuff.
Yes. Yeah, and if you want a traceable for this, I will have it available on Patreon. It's probably not, it'll be just the basic, shapes. So, but it will be available. I don't know that this one's one that you're going to really need it much, but you never know. If you're just, if you're intimidated by drawing and but still want to kind of do it, then that's a good resource to have. I don't know why that center of that flower got so far off, but
And while I got the Patreon thing up there, you want to show them what you did Sunday?
yeah. Hold on, let me see.
Get that flower in there.
Let me get this flower in. This one's kind of lighter, so I'm going to get some white. Use the lighter
Really
color.
quiet when you do white because it's a little skittish sometimes.
There we go. Ooh, I like that big raised area. That looks cool. Yes, we did a 6-hour marathon painting here. That was Saturday's painting for patrons. That was our bonus video for the month of April. And we do an extra long, detailed, advanced lesson once a month on Patreon for patrons for $5 or above level. And so yeah, we did that. It took about 6 hours. I probably could have spent another hour tweaking it, but we kind of
But I
ran
had
out of
to
time,
eat.
and Mark wanted to eat.
It was
so.
like 8:30, and I was like, let's have dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
But the good thing about the Patreon levels is that you get access to all the previous bonus videos also,
Right.
not just last month's.
The one the month before was this one. So that's what we had painted the month before.
Mhm.
So both of those, they're the kind of more advanced paintings that I don't have time to do on YouTube, So YouTube doesn't like the super long videos. They don't do well on YouTube. So. But I like to do them. So that Patreon, thank you to the patrons who pay, because then I get to paint these really cool, fun ones that I want to paint, and I can do it because you guys help support our channel that way. All right, so let's keep on going. I think I'm gonna leave this. I don't know. I think.
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know if I need a big one right there. Maybe I might just do like a bud over here. Like do another one of those over here, maybe.
One or two. Because if you
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, well. No, I think we're good. I think one's fine. We'll be rebels.
Wow. The art police are going to lose their...
Ever-loving minds.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's true. Okay, I'll do a small one. I'll do a little...
They will not be able to hit that thumbs down
Fast enough.
hard enough.
It's amazing. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So there's a couple little baby ones. And then I'm going to do one. I'm going to do this one that's over here, that little baby one right there, and then we'll be done. So that one's like right here. I'm just going to keep it kind of small.
Somebody wants to know, have you ever seen an X-ray picture of a flower?
Yes, I have. Yeah, they're cool. They're real cool.
And would you ever think of painting one?
Oh, yeah, if I could find a person who photographed one for me, send it to me.
So we'll go to the hospital.
I can't just use any photograph that I want to, off the internet. I have to have the permission of the photographer or pay for it. I pay for these photographs that I use.
Yeah, but what if we go to the doctor and say we broke our arm or something?
And then throw a rose in our pocket.
And then when they go to do the x-ray, quickly just remove your arm and put the flower in there.
I think that's a good idea.
I think that strategy might work.
Mm-hmm.
So we see what's wrong with your arm. It's a flower.
That's your problem right there. Okay, so these one had kind of some of these dark things happening in the middle here. And this one ended up kind of looking, I don't know, I kind of swirled through it with the tip of the palette knife. And then let's grab my cadmium yellow light here. Let's see, I think I can still use this one. Get that cadmium yellow. And just use the very tip of that brush, kind of scooping it up right there. I'm going to dab very carefully, and I may have to clean it out every now and then because the black is going to try to stick to it, and so you don't want that black to change the color. Just barely touching it down. Getting those little yellow dabs in there. And there's this one's got a couple too. Okay, and then I think I want to put a little highlight on those roses that are right there, those buds. So I'm going to get some white and just kind of go in there and just throw some white on those. There we go. And then if you want to, what you can do is let this dry completely and then go back in and add some highlighted petals. But you got to know that your, the underlayers are going to influence what the paint on top does, because they're going to be, raised up and stuff. So it's better if you can kind of just do it in your first layer.
I've super zoomed in just so people can see that there's a lot of texture. Yeah. It's not a flat painting.
No, it's not. I kind of went a little bit too far out there. Well. Yeah, and then the center of this one was over here, so I'm just gonna do it like that. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And if you want to, we could do another layer. I might do another layer of splatters that were like white, I think look really pretty stuff with this, and maybe even like thicker, you know, like a little bit. I got a lot of that.
Double
color.
splatter?
Double splatters? What is she doing now?
What does it mean?
I did think about, I saw that there's a trend right now for rainbows. Kids putting rainbows in their windows, you know, with all the stuff going on with people quarantined in their homes and everything. Thought it might be kind of a fun project to do a rainbow. So if you'd like to see that, give me a comment down below after the video. Let me know if that's something that you'd like to see. You know, try to get it on my, maybe try to do it in May sometime. I'm going to try to get some directionality with this. So I'm going to tap it in a direction, like
Gonna tap it in a direction. Check.
And the more water you have in it, you get these thicker dabs. Ooh, I like it.
Make sure you got your children, pet, husbands
Monitor.
far away when you're doing this.
Yeah. It will be messy. Somebody was asking me about doing it with kids, and what I used to do is have a box that I would set up, a big box, where they would do their splattering. So once they were ready to do that, they would take it and they put their painting down in the box, and then they could splatter all they wanted to in the box, and it would catch the spray. So little tip for been there, done that teacher tip. All right, there we go. Isn't that fun? I liked it.
Voila.
I love these kind of little paintings. If you like them, leave me a comment there. Let me know if you want to see more similar type of things. I've got all kinds of different flowers on these white backgrounds that I found on the site where I get my reference photos. So I kind of thought it might be a fun series to do. Some of them are on like longer canvases, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a whole series of these different flowers in this kind of style. So, and like I said, I did a little bit more realistic style on this one. You can see the difference between this one and the one we did before, where this one was like super abstracted and, you know, very kind of just kind of little blobs and stuff. We weren't like trying to really like make it look like a poppy, obviously, since they're teal. So this one we kind of did a little bit slower and kind of tried to get a little build up, a little bit of more depth. And I'm seeing now, just speaking of depth here, I'm going to try to get a little bit of depth in this one, just a little bit more right here, right in here. There we go. Just get it like a super dark. What?
Camera's got a good shot of the texture.
Yeah, look how thick that is. It's very juicy. And it's starting to paint. It's starting to dry, so I can't really do a whole lot with it right now. I'd have to let it dry completely and try to add some more, but I kind of felt like it needed a little bit of something there.
And somebody asked, are you going to sign it?
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, I do need to sign it, don't I?
Because they know me, because they know I'd go in and sign it behind you and claim it was mine. Kind of like a big eyes kind of deal.
Is that going to be your new venture, hon?
Yep.
You're going to try to convince everybody that all these videos were you
Well, everybody
all
knows.
along.
I mean, they just look at the hands and they can tell.
Yeah. All right, so I think I'm going to leave it because the more I try to mess with it, the worse it's going to get. So
There you go.
it's not.
That'll do.
That'll do, pig. Yeah. That'll do. What are you trying to say?
I didn't say the last word. You said it. I did.
Okay.
My husband brain stopped
yourself?
way before that got there. It was like, warning, warning.
Back up.
Stop the mouth.
Okay, there we go. We signed it. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us again on a Tuesday night. We do this every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central. So hope you'll come back and join us again sometime. And we'll be back on Sunday for our regular Saturday at 2 p.m. Central for our what are we painting?
I don't know.
Oh, Amsterdam. We're painting Amsterdam in black and white with tulips.
Oh,
Might even use a little palette knife action on that one too.
sweet.
It's kind of part of our. We've done 2 before. We did Paris and London. Thank you. And so in that black and white with red, with pops of red. So this Amsterdam one will be kind of another along the same lines. So those 2 were very kind of abstract-y. We're going to keep them simple and try not to get too bogged down on details when we do it. So hope you join us. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.